count my worth, but how busy my week looked. How many plans I had, how many names knew mine. Every free afternoon felt like I was wasting something, like the world was moving forward and I got left behind. Funny how a few years later, the things I wanted most are mornings with no schedule and coffee that stays hot. I spent so long trying to get somewhere else, I never noticed I was already here. Maybe I'm moving slow enough now to watch the light change across the room, to hear the song playing in the coffee shop corner, to finish conversations without checking the time. Maybe I'm moving slow enough now to actually live my life. The old me would've laughed at the way I spend my Fridays, walking through the farmer's market, buying things I don't really need, taking the long route home just because the weather's good, leaving messages unanswered till tomorrow morning. Nothing extraordinary happened, and somehow it was a perfect day. Turns out peace wasn't hiding somewhere far away, it was waiting in the things I kept skipping. Maybe I'm moving slow enough now to watch the clouds drift above the buildings, to sit beside the window without reaching for my phone, to let an ordinary moment be enough on its own. Maybe I'm moving slow enough now to actually live my life. I don't need every year to be the best year yet. I don't need every dream to happen all at once. Somewhere along the way, I stopped chasing everything and started noticing what was already mine. Now I'm moving slow enough to remember small things, the smell of fresh coffee, the sound of people talking, the sunlight on the table, the song I almost missed. Maybe happiness was never loud. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was this. I still take the long way home, like maybe somewhere out there there's a version of me that didn't lose you. There's a crack in my phone screen from that night in your kitchen. You were laughing so hard you almost dropped the wine. Funny how the smallest moments outlive the bigger endings. Now they hide inside street signs and grocery stores that don't say your name out loud the way I used to, but somehow you still appear in almost everything. And some nights I think I'm finally alright, and something small undoes the whole illusion. You still find me in the quiet parts of the city, and empty trains in the space beside people don't fully disappear. Maybe they just settle into the background of your life. I still know your coffee order, still remember your street, still hear your voice when downtown gets quiet. Everybody says time helps, maybe they're right, but time mostly taught me how to carry the weight better. Now I walk through crowded rooms like I'm fine, while half my mind lies somewhere last spring. And some nights I almost stop missing you, until a certain melody pulls me backwards again. You still find me through late night traffic lights, through old hoodies and rainy conversations. And for a second it all feels unfinished, like we only paused instead of ending. Maybe love doesn't leave, maybe it changes form, becomes part of the air in every place you knew. I wonder if you ever think about those little things too, or if I'm just another season you moved on from, because I still carry pieces of who I was with you. And I don't know where to put them now. You still find me in every quiet moment, like the city learned your name and whispers it back to me. Maybe one day these memories will soften, but tonight they still feel close enough to touch. Some things leave slowly, even after they're gone. I thought it would feel different. There's the part nobody warns you about. You spend years chasing something, and one day you're standing right in front of it. But somehow you still feel like yourself, not wiser, not transformed, just you. The same person, looking through different windows. Maybe I expected fireworks, maybe I watched too many movies. 'Cause every big moment arrived quietly, no music playing, no perfect timing, just another ordinary day that slowly became important. Looking back, I think most of life works that way. The apartment got bigger, the paychecks got better, the people around me changed. A few dreams came true, a few disappeared, most turned into something else. And honestly, none of that surprised me as much as how normal it all felt. Maybe happiness isn't dramatic, maybe that's why it's easy to miss. Because every big moment arrived quietly, like sunlight moving across the room. So slowly, you barely notice until everything looks different. And somehow you feel different too. I used to think the future would introduce itself with some grand announcement. Now I think it just keeps showing up, one ordinary day at a time. Every big moment arrives quietly, hidden inside conversations, coffee breaks, long dives, and random afternoon. I almost forgot, baby, the best parts of life never ask for attention. Maybe they just happen. I thought it would feel different. I'm glad it did. I thought it'd be something bigger, a phone call, a breakthrough, a story worth repeating, something I tell my friends about later on. Instead, it was 5 minutes by the window, with the sunlight hitting the table just right. Funny how the best moments never seem to announce themselves. The best part of the day wasn't on my calendar, wasn't part of the plan. Didn't ask for attention, it just happened somewhere between where I was going and where I thought I should be. Came on that I hadn't heard in years, and for a little while nothing needed fixing, nobody needed answers. The future could wait, past stayed quiet, and the room felt exactly the way it was supposed to. Maybe that's why it's so easy to miss. The best part of the day was small enough to fit inside a moment, and somehow that made it bigger than everything else I spent the day chasing. I used to think meaning arrived dramatically. Now I think it sneaks in through side doors and sits down beside you without saying a word. The best part of the day almost went unnoticed, like most beautiful things do. And maybe that's alright. Maybe they aren't meant to demand attention. Maybe they're meant to reward it. Part of the day was already here. Daytime, he says it's all good. Laughs on cue like I should. Keeps it moving, keeps it light. Never lets things stay too long. But the version of me at 2 a.m. starts reopening everything again. Every memory, every mistake, every word I wish I could change. Funny how the night makes honesty louder. The version of me at 2 a.m. feels everything at once again. Every fear I bear through old conversations like they hold some revelation, trying to find a hidden meaning in things people probably forgot. And I know tomorrow morning I'll think differently again, but right now everything feels permanent. At 2 a.m. maybe nights were made for confronting who we are. The version of me at 2 a.m. feels everything at once again. Something in you's real. The version of me at 2 a.m. might be messy, might be scared, but maybe that's the truest part of me, when nobody else is there. Deserves a chance. Even at 2 a.m. I'll be alright eventually. Everybody looks busy, walking fast, talking louder than they need to. Like the whole city might stop working if they take one afternoon off. There's a guy in a suit crossing the street, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, checking something every 5 seconds, like the answer he's looking for might suddenly appear. I watch him disappear into a crowd of people who all seem convinced they're late for something important, and maybe they are. Funny how the view changes once you stop chasing it. Funny how the noise fades when you're not adding to it. Everybody looks busy, everybody looks important, everybody's got somewhere to be, or somewhere they're pretending to be. Everybody's got a deadline, everybody's got a plan, everybody's trying to become a slightly better version of themselves. And maybe that's alright, maybe that's just life. But today I don't feel like running. The girl outside the bookstore has been sitting on the same bench for almost an hour, watching people pass. She doesn't seem bored, she doesn't seem worried, she just looks present, which feels surprisingly rare. A delivery driver stops to pet a dog for maybe 10 seconds before getting back to work, and somehow that looks more successful than half the things people spend years chasing. It's strange, the things you start noticing when you're not trying to get somewhere. Maybe we've all been told that movement means progress so many times we forgot to question it. Everybody looks busy, everybody looks important, everybody's carrying something invisible on their shoulders. Everybody's making promises to some future version of themselves, hoping it'll all make sense when they finally arrive. And maybe it will, maybe it won't, but today I think I'll sit this one out. There was a time I would've hated this afternoon, called it unproductive, called it wasted. I would've made a list, found another goal, turned a quiet moment into another task. Now I don't know, maybe getting older is just realizing not every hour needs a purpose. Maybe some afternoons exist just to be lived. Nobody remembers the emails they answered 5 years ago. Nobody remembers the meetings, the deadlines, or the things that felt urgent. They remember conversations, road trips, songs, people, tiny moments that didn't seem important at the time. Everybody looks busy, everybody looks important. Everybody's trying their best to build a life that means something. And honestly, I hope they find it, I really do. But right now, the sunlight's moving across the floor. The music sounds good, my coffee's finally cold. And for the first time all week, I don't feel behind. Everybody looks busy. Maybe that's enough for them today. This is enough for me. Everybody's got a 5-year plan, a podcast, a side hustle, a reason they're exhausted. Everybody's building something, posting proof, keeping score, trying to turn every minute into something useful. And maybe they're right, maybe I'm missing something. But today, I just wanted a decent coffee and a place to sit. Lately, I've been wondering if enough can just be enough. I'm not looking for more, not tonight. Not another mountain, not another version of my life. The music sounds good, the air feels right, and for a little while that seems like plenty. I'm not looking for more, just this moment before it disappears. Yeah. The couple by the window keeps laughing at something. The guy in the corner hasn't touched his laptop in an hour. Outside the traffic rolls by like a river that forgot where it was going. Nobody seems to know what they're doing as much as they pretend. Maybe we're all searching for permission to slow down. I'm not looking for more, not tonight. No dramatic breakthrough, no grand design, just a warm room, a familiar song, and enough time to breathe. I used to think life was waiting somewhere ahead. Now I think it might be happening right here, and we're too distracted to notice. I'm not looking for more, not tonight. The city's still moving without me chasing it, and somehow that feels alright. Maybe this ordinary evening was all I needed. Nobody told me you can get everything you wanted and still wake up wondering what's next. Nobody told me the finish lines keep moving. Every time you reach one, there's another waiting. I spent years confidence look loud. Turns out most of the people I admire are just comfortable being themselves. And maybe that's the trick nobody talks about. Maybe life isn't something you figure out. Maybe it's something you keep showing up for. Some days you're certain, some days you're lost. Most days you're somewhere in between, and that's alright. I used to think everybody had a plan until I got older and started asking questions. Now it seems like we're all improvising, trying to look calm while making it up as we go. The funny thing is that realization made me less afraid, not more. There's something comforting about knowing nobody really knows. And maybe life isn't something you solve once. Maybe it's a conversation that never really ends. Some days make sense, some days don't. Most days are just moments waiting to be noticed. The older I get, the less interested I am in looking impressive, and the more interested I am in feeling present. Maybe that's growth, or maybe I'm just tired. Either way, it feels honest. Maybe life isn't hiding somewhere ahead of me. Maybe it's already here in the people I call, the songs I replay, the mornings I almost rush through. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it always was. Nobody told me that, but I'm starting to believe it. I don't live where I used to, don't talk the way I did. Most of my old habits packed their bags and disappeared. The bars we used to stay at got replaced by something new, and half the names in my phone feel like people I once knew. Funny how life changes without asking first. I'm not who I was, not yet who I'll be. Maybe that's alright. I'm somewhere between the plans I made and the life I'm living. Somewhere between holding on and finally letting go. I don't have all the answers like I thought I would, but for the first time I don't think I need them. Saturday afternoon, the city's moving slow. A couple kids are skating outside the record store. I sit and watch the traffic like it's trying to tell me something. Not because I'm searching, just because I finally noticed how much I missed by always looking ahead. Maybe the map was never the point, maybe the road was. I'm somewhere between everything I wanted and everything I found. Somewhere between the noise outside and the quiet in my head. The future doesn't scare me like it used to. Maybe uncertainty isn't the enemy after all. I spent years trying to become somebody. Now I'm learning how to be myself. And somehow that feels harder and easier at the same time. Somewhere between the person I remember Missed the train, didn't even run for it. Used to treat every morning like some kind of emergency. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other. Always 10 minutes late to something that probably could've waited. Now I watch people rushing from the corner table like I used to be one of them. Maybe the world won't fall apart if I arrive a little later. I forgot to be in a hurry, and honestly nothing bad happened. The sky stayed blue, the coffee stayed warm, the day kept moving without my permission. I forgot to be in a hurry, and for once that felt pretty good. The old version of me would've called this lazy. The new version calls it breathing. I noticed little things today, a dog sleeping in the sun, somebody laughing too loud, a song playing from a bicycle speaker. Most of life was happening quietly, and I almost missed it. Turns out peace doesn't usually knock. You have to slow down enough to hear it. I forgot to be in a hurry, and somehow the city looked different. Less like a race, more like a place people were actually living. Maybe we're not supposed to optimize every minute. Maybe some moments are better wasted. I forgot to be in a hurry, and maybe tomorrow I'll remember again. But for today, I let the clock do whatever it wanted, and the world kept spinning just fine. Just fine. Just fine. You ever notice how some things disappear slowly? Not all at once, not like the movies, more like a radio signal fading between stations. Still there, just harder to find. I still catch pieces every now and then, in places I wasn't looking. At times I wasn't ready. Nothing really happened, that's the strange part. Nobody slammed the door, nobody said goodbye. Just static between stations, a voice I almost recognize, a feeling that keeps crossing my mind, then vanishing again. Maybe some things are meant to break clean, maybe they just drift out beyond the headlights, leaving traces you can't explain. The records are still spinning, the season's still changing. People keep introducing themselves like beginnings are easy. Meanwhile, some part of me keeps rewinding to conversations I barely remember, trying to figure out why they still matter. Maybe meaning survives long after the details disappear. Just static between stations, something unfinished in the air, like a sentence that never found its ending. And every now and then I swear I hear it clearly before it fades. live with certainty. Now I think most of life happens in the blurry parts, the moments nobody knows how to name. Just static between stations, still moving through the dark, still carrying something I can't quite hold. Maybe that's enough, maybe that's all memory is, a signal traveling farther than it was supposed to. And somewhere out there, still playing. There's a man outside reading yesterday's newspaper, like he's got nowhere to be and nowhere he'd rather go. The girl behind the counter keeps humming to herself, not because she's happy, just because the room is quiet. Funny how peace looks different than I imagined, less like a destination, more like a random Thursday. Maybe life isn't hiding in the milestones, maybe it's hanging around the ordinary parts. Halfway through the afternoon, the sunlight changed direction, and suddenly everything looked a little softer. Nobody fell in love, nobody changed the world, but something about this moment felt important anyway. The coffee's getting colder, the playlist keeps rolling, people come and go without leaving a trace. Outside the traffic moves like water down a river. Nobody's really stopping, nobody's really rushing, and for the first time all week that feels alright. I spent years waiting for something bigger, and missed 1,000 moments just like this one. Halfway through the afternoon, nothing extraordinary happened, no grand conclusions, no dramatic endings. Just light through the window and conversations nearby, and somehow that was enough. Maybe meaning isn't loud, maybe it never was. Maybe we've been looking in the wrong places. Halfway through the afternoon, I stopped checking the time, and for a little while the world felt easy. Maybe that's all we're after. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough. I remember being 20, thinking happiness was somewhere else. A better apartment, a better job, a different version of myself. I used to draw little maps on the backs of notebooks, like if I followed them long enough, everything would make sense. Now the walls are a little cleaner, the paychecks come on time, and somehow I spend more nights looking backward than ahead. Nobody tells you some dreams arrive quietly without fixing anything. The things I thought I'd want are sitting all around me now. The keys, the numbers, the change everything. The city looks smaller now, or maybe I just know it better. The streets don't feel mysterious once you've driven all of them. Even Friday nights lost some of their magic somewhere between becoming stable and becoming tired. I stopped introducing myself to possibilities. Maybe growing up isn't losing wonder. Maybe it's learning how to look harder for it. The things I thought I'd want finally showed up one by one. Not with fireworks, not with the soundtrack, just another Tuesday afternoon. And I keep wondering if contentment always feels a little different than excitement. Sometimes I miss wanting things before I had them, before every answer created a new question, before I learned that arrival isn't a destination, it's just another road. The things I thought I'd want don't feel disappointing, just smaller somehow than they did in my imagination. Maybe that's not sadness, maybe that's life. Learning that meaning was never hiding in achievement. Maybe it was hiding in the days between. Years chasing a horizon, not realizing it moved with me. Coffee tasted normal. The weather couldn't decide. Half the sky looked like summer, half looked like rain. The guy downstairs was singing something terribly out of tune, and somehow it made the morning feel a little less routine. A year ago I'd probably call this a wasted day. Now I'm not so sure. Maybe every moment doesn't need a soundtrack. Maybe every day doesn't need a headline. Nothing special today. No big news, no life-changing conversation. Just a seat by the window and a song I almost skipped. Nothing special today. And maybe that's the reason I don't want it to end. For once I'm not chasing something, I'm just here. Walked around the neighborhood without anywhere to be. Past the little bookstore I'd somehow never seen. Bought a magazine I'll probably never finish. Spent $10 on things I didn't need, and for a few quiet hours nobody expected anything from me. It's funny what starts to matter when you stop trying to impress the future. Nothing special today. No fireworks, no dramatic revelation. Just sunlight moving slowly across a wooden floor. Nothing special today. And somehow I keep thinking these might be the moments people miss later on. Maybe happiness isn't hidden at the finish line. Maybe it hangs around ordinary waiting for us to finally notice. Nothing special today, just familiar streets and familiar faces, a half-finished coffee and nowhere else to go. Nothing special today, but if tomorrow comes and takes it all away, I think I'd remember this one. Nothing special, and somehow it felt special enough.